Quinn. He gets it in at the second attempt. The climax of a season of jubilation for two soccer teams with a very different past. A champagne bout in Bournemouth as the Cherries finally bubbled into Division 2 after 64 years of trying. And in Portsmouth's Guildhall Square, massive celebrations as Pompeys finally clawed their way back to the big time of Division 1 after 28 years in the shadows. Only Queen Victoria remained unmoved. The Pompey Chimes will always bring a smile to the face of John Deacon, but never more so than now. The long-standing chairman of the football club knows what promotion means to the city.
Portsmouth is soccer. It's been a sleeping giant, in my view, and it certainly has awakened.
The Fratton Park Stadium stands in the middle of the most densely populated inner city in Europe, a rugged environment where for many people soccer is something of a religion. It's a city where the proudest monument to a glorious past is HMS Victory. Today, they pray for victory at Fratton. For thousands now, this is the path to glory. But if Portsmouth has been a sleeping giant, Bournemouth has been the Cinderella. The novelist Thomas Hardy described this belle of resorts as a fairy place suddenly created by the stroke of a wand. Certainly the new soccer success is something of a fairy tale. To a large extent, it's still a genteel town of elegance and elderly folk. What excitement there's been has tended to take place on the seafront, somewhere between the sand and the suntan oil, but rarely on the soccer pitch. The one thing in common between Bournemouth and Portsmouth is the managers, Harry Redknapp and Alan Ball. Both have red hair and both have passion and determination.
Oh, I'm very ambitious, obviously, you know, but all my ambitions have been with Bournemouth Football Club, Richard. I've always been ambitious to get Bournemouth into Division 2.
Thanks for coming and supporting us the last 2 or 3 years, but most of all, thanks for coming all your lives to watch this great club play football.
All those years ago, when the British Navy still ruled the waves from its home in Portsmouth, Pompey joined the Football League. The year was 1920. By 1927, they reached the first division, thanks largely to Billy Haynes. He scored 40 goals that season, which is still the club record. 2 years later, they reached their first cup final and lost to Bolton. They were back in 1934, this time in white shirts against Manchester City.
Look out, here comes the goal. The real beauty. Rutherford cuts in, flicks the ball to his right foot. A rocket-like shot of Swift makes a despairing dive as the ball crashes home.
Well, eventually it was Portsmouth who crashed and lost 2-1. In the grim years before the war, the people of Portsmouth longed for something to smile about. That something came in 1939. Wembley again, and an unforgettable final played before King George VI. The opponents were Wolves, who came as hot favourites, but went away humiliated.
Parker sent us to Barlow. Barlow back to Parker again, and Parker shoots, and it's tipped over the bar. Tipped down, sir. Pompey's just going to score again, and Parker does with his head.
4-1 was the final score, and Portsmouth walked away with the cup and held on to it until after the war. That was one kind of record, but there were more to come with the years of Pompey's golden glory. In 1949, with General Montgomery as their president, they fought their way to the league championship. The next year, they did it again, and the man who scored the goal that made it theirs was the winger, Peter Harris.
The average go was about 45,000. People would queue up to go in the ground at 10 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday, and I think they opened the gates about 12 o'clock, let them in.
Any crowd trouble?
Never, no. We might get the odd drunken sailor come on the pitch and do a bit of a dance and get off again, you know, but other than that, never any trouble at all.
Among the heroes of those days were Jimmy Schooler, Jack Froggatt, and the legendary Jimmy Dickinson. Harris himself was still playing in 1959 and still scoring goals. But despite moments like this, it was a black time for Pompey. It was the year they were dumped from Division 1. The great club slumped eventually to the 3rd and ultimately to the 4th Division. Altogether 28 long years in the wilderness, until this month.
Here we go, here we go, here we go.
4 years ago, manager Alan Ball was coaching at Butlins. Now, after 2 desperately near misses, he's taken Portsmouth back where they belong.
These lads have worked so hard for like 3 years under me that it's very difficult to explain how we feel, really.
Now, you said that when the team were promoted, if they were promoted, you'd probably cry. Did you?
Well, I didn't. I think my kids did it for me last night when I got home, and most certainly my wife did. I'm just a proud man. To handle this mob here, they're great, and they've worked so hard that I can't tell people how much. We've been through so much together.
The man who's made it all possible financially is the chairman, John Deacon, a self-made property developer who owns a Rolls-Royce and 12 companies, one of them Portsmouth Football Club. It must be the most expensive hobby in the world. It's said that over the past 14 years, he's poured more than £3 million into the club's coffers.
Quite honestly, I haven't sat down and counted up. It might frighten me if I do, but quite a considerable sum, yes.
And it's your personal money, is it?
Well, yes, of course, yes. Yes, it's money that I've earned by the sweat of the brow and organising a business.
And you haven't clawed very much of that back so far, I don't think.
None at all, no. It keeps on creeping up all the time, unfortunately.
So why do you do it, tell me?
Well, the love of the game. I mean, I've been in football all my life, played until I was 39. I then passed the Football Association referees course and refereed till I was 47.
Now, in 1982, Portsmouth became a private company. It became your own company, in effect. So it gives you a very strong position there, doesn't it?
Well, that's right. You see, when I was asked to join the club and invest quite substantial sums of money, I've never gone into anything unless I had a controlling interest. There's no point in doing that. So I sort of said, yes, fair enough. I mean, I'm prepared to come in, providing I have a controlling interest in the company.
Like John Deacon, the chairman of Bournemouth Football Club is also the majority shareholder, although he bought in for a mere £150,000. Rodney Barton is someone who likes a challenge. He took part in the transatlantic two-handed race in 1981. But in soccer terms, while he rules from his home overlooking Poole Harbour, he keeps a low profile.
Well, I think I'm not on an ego trip like some of these chairmen that one shouldn't mention, perhaps, but...
On the other hand, you are the majority shareholder, 76% of the shares, so you do have power, don't you?
Well, my company owns 76% of the shares, yes. I don't think you could... It's okay, you might call it power, but not power to me. I think that when we rescued the club, we did it with a purpose, and that was to bring the control back to the town.
You don't see yourself as a benefactor as such. I mean, you are a businessman. You're in this as a businessman.
Well, I think so, yes. I think we've always looked at it as being a business, and the business is football.
In 4 years, Barton has cleared a debt of nearly £750,000. One of those who's made that possible is Brian Tyler, managing director, chief executive and secretary, all rolled into one, who works from a tiny room under Bournemouth's main stand.
I think it's a very small club, Richard. I think one of the first things we did when the chairman took over is have a look at the staff, and we were overstaffed. We just couldn't afford it, so we had to make major cutbacks with a view to, obviously, helping the manager put the best products on the field, really. So I would think we've probably got the smallest administration and commercial staff in the Football League. But what it does do, of course, is create a terrific family atmosphere.
A key member of the Bournemouth family for the past 25 years is the club's physiotherapist, John Kirk. They call him Captain Kirk, even when he's wearing a fez.
This treatment room, believe it or not, can be a room of gloom. But I find that once I put that hat on, that does relieve the tension. Tommy Cooper, he's one or two of his gags, not so much with Paul Morrell, but you get players coming and saying, John, every time I do that, I get a pain. I said, well, don't do it. Oh, they'll set you on a verbal leg. What should I do? I said, limp.
Another old stager who's proud to be associated with the success of Bournemouth is the groundsman, John Harris.
Red carpet next season then?
Green carpet.
Is it true that you use a green colouring on the grass?
Spray. Spray.
Yes.
Green spray.
A green spray?
Yeah.
Brings out that nice velvet colour.
Definitely. Two-colour green, light and dark.
Is that right?
Gives you the stripes.
So it's nothing to do with the mowing?
No.
For the manager, Harry Redknapp, these are heady days. A man who eats, breathes and thinks football, even at home. For him, promotion is especially sweet.
Harry, can you remember your first game as caretaker manager at Bournemouth?
Yeah, for sure, Richard. It's certainly a day I'll never forget. We got beat 9-0 at Lincoln. I took over from David Webb, and it was a freezing cold day. The pitch was frozen solid, and we skated around and fell all over the place and got beat 9-0. I think it's a club record defeat.
Must have been a nightmare for you. You must have felt like giving up on the spot.
Yeah, it was a nightmare. It was a terrible day. It was a day I'll never forget. You know, probably a lot more on that single day than any other day of my career. You know, about players and about characters, and you know, I was quite determined after that. I was going to succeed, to be honest with you.
Just how Redknapp has succeeded after that start is by having an eye for the right player at the right price. Colin Clark is now scoring goals for Southampton. But 2 years ago, Redknapp picked him up for Bournemouth for just £22,000. A year later, he sold him for something like $400,000.
I do feel I can judge a player fairly well, and it's a case of looking around. You know, you look in the lower leagues, you look in the non-league. I mean, we've got 3 non-league players in the team who've all done exceptionally well.
The captain, Mark Newson, was one of 6 new players signed for a song at the beginning of last season. Another was the prolific striker, David Puckett. Puckett was a key figure, but with the team going well in mid-season, he scored his last goal before injury. It was then the eagle-eyed manager brought in Richard Cook up front and Big John Williams at the back. With the strength they brought, Bournemouth surged to the 3rd Division Championship.
Player streaming forward. If Morrell can get the cross in, he does. To the far post, nodded away, only half cleared. O'Driscoll knocks it forward. Cook plays it in. That might be a chance here for Aylon. It's there. Aylon has scored.
They took the title in the sunshine on the final day of the season against Rotherham, and they took it with a record 97 points.
He might go round the goalkeeper. He does. Richards must score his 2nd goal of the game. Carl Richards has scored.
For the first time since they joined the Football League back in 1923, they were in the 2nd Division. One of the fans whose prayers have finally been answered is Gilbert Liney. He's 77 now, and he's always watched from exactly the same spot.
Still beyond the goal at the south end.
Everybody knows where you stand.
Oh, yes, I'm well known. There's a little patch there. Matter of fact, there's a hole there now.
Another lifetime supporter is Billy Evans, who went to Cambridge University with the spies Guy Burgess and Kim Philby, but who's restricted his spying to Bournemouth. He's tailed them all over the country and noted every match he's seen, 963 so far, including their very first league game.
Bournemouth North, Swindon North. In those days it was always called Boscombe.
Can you remember the atmosphere?
A small crowd, about 3,000. My father was alive then and said, anyone who goes and watches football, think of 3,000 maniacs in this town who go and watch it.
Over the years, Billy didn't have much to write home about, while others wrote lyrically about the joys of the sunny seaside town.
The town is gay with restaurants, cafes, cinemas, and every form of modern entertainment. In the very heart of the town are the pleasure gardens. In springtime, trees are laden with cherry blossom, and the flower beds are a mass of tulips.
While the holiday resort was clearly blooming, the cherries of Dean Court seldom blossomed. There was an exceptional year, though, 1957. In the FA Cup, they were the giant killers, beating Wolverhampton Wanderers.
And then, of course, the next match here was against Tottenham, who were really one of the top notchers. And I got that down as the best match I've ever seen. Terrific excitement.
Needless to say, it was a capacity crowd that packed into Dean Court to see 3rd Division Bournemouth at home to mighty Spurs in the 5th round of the Cup. Now watch the first goal for Bournemouth. Cutler, number 11, beats Baker, number 2. Centres to Norris, who shoots. And it's 1 goal up for the Little ones. And in the second half, it was the gallant Seasiders who played like the first division. Here's their number 3 goal from Siffel. Bournemouth 3, Spurs 1.
The cheers had hardly died down when the next opponents arrived, the legendary Busby Babes of Manchester United.
Here from a corner is the first goal, headed by Bedford. Bournemouth 1, Manchester United 0. And to say that Bournemouth were excited is putting it mildly.
Well, after so many empty years, you could hardly blame them. But it couldn't last. United pulled back to win 2-1, and that was that.
Manchester 2, Bournemouth 1.
Bournemouth did gain belated revenge in a famous cup victory over United 3 years ago. But in the league, the one record they could boast of was the longest single period in the third division, from 1923 to 1970.
The only time they've ever been out of the third division is to go down to the fourth.
So why have you followed them so religiously?
I like the atmosphere of the ground. It's homely, but I don't think I can see the genteel older folk going to Dean Court.
In large areas of the Dorset Riviera, soccer is as foreign as Sanskrit.
One club.
To bridge the gap between Billy's club and Dean Court would take an act of God.
No bid.
There are very few here who'll be bidding for season tickets across town.
I'm not very keen on sports except golf and tennis.
Wasn't Alan Ball there at one time? Perhaps he's not now.
I know Bournemouth has done very well, which is very nice, but I wish it were Poole.
AFC Bournemouth, what does that mean to you?
Well, it's a football club anyway. Is it association? I know it's something football club.
The A actually stands for athletic. AFC was the new continental-style name introduced in 1971. In the heyday of Ted McDougall, the then manager John Bond wanted to improve the image of the old Bournemouth and Boscombe Athletic. Nevertheless, it's obvious a large element of indifference has lingered on. But the town is changing. New money has arrived with enterprises like the Chase Manhattan Bank and the Bournemouth International Centre. There's a younger image on the way.
Brian Tyler, good morning.
Morning, Tim. How are you today?
I'm well. How are you?
Fine. You've got the old...
the lucky scarf with you this morning, and the trimmed beard.
Now, Brian Tyler is working on the image of the football club, too.
A lot of business houses are moving down here, as you know, and bring a lot of young executives into town. So I think that is a market that we're trying to tap. We're trying to get those people to come here. We're trying to make this football club a focal point of the community and make it the in thing to come to Dean Court, really.
Mm-hmm. Are you succeeding, do you think?
Yes, I think we are. We've got lots of things going in the community. Myself and Harry go out speaking, dinner and lunch engagements. The players are out presenting prizes. One of the things that has been popular is that we've taken our entire first team into schools and play the school first team and then give all the kids a free ticket to one of the games, hopefully to bring their parents along. So there is a good involvement with the community here.
The big hope of the club is that they'll soon have a brand spanking new stadium to entice the whole family. They want to put it just a few yards from the existing one in Kings Park. The plans are nothing if not ambitious. The cost has been put as high as £5 million.
It's not just for the football club, it's for the benefit of the community. We need a sports complex of which AFC Bournemouth will be a part.
Are the council smiling upon this proposal?
Well, I think perhaps like everybody else, we're all the same. We're a little bit apprehensive whether it's too ambitious, but I don't think it is. I think it's the way that football has to go.
While Bournemouth have been revamping their image, Portsmouth have had their problems. In January, their striker Mike Quinn went to court on a charge of twice driving while disqualified. He was convicted and spent a fortnight in Winchester prison.
I've done wrong, and I think I paid for it, and it's made me a better man, a more mature man. As I said, 14 days in jail, and it wasn't too pleasant.
Was it not?
No. And to come back from that, with so much upset, you know, my family and girlfriend, you know, which was involved in that, and then, you know, in the same sort of year to get promotion.
You must be pretty confused.
Oh, it's just elation, pure elation, you know.
But before the elation, Pompey players were in trouble on the pitch this season as well as off it. In January, Pompey wore red and saw red apparently in this match against Ipswich. There were no fewer than 8 bookings. And then against Leeds. That foul by Kennedy brought in one of the 9 bookings in the match. It was a pattern that persisted throughout a season of cautions and suspensions for the Pompey players, giving them an image of rough and over-tough football. Image is something Paul Mariner is very much aware of. He's the commercial agent for the England team. But looking back on a season as Pompey's centre-forward, he's concerned about them too.
I've said for quite a long time, I spoke to the boss about it, that our image goes before us. I mean, referees look out for the players, they obviously read the newspapers, and I think we've got to try and do something about it next year.
How?
Well, obviously for the first few games, people are going to say, oh, he's Portsmouth, they're coming in for a kicking match, which is the furthest thing from the truth, because the lads down at the club can play football very, very well.
But there they are, they're getting suspended, they're getting booked and all the rest of it.
Yes,
Now,
oh yes.
Now, what are you going to do to change that next year? Walk out on the pitch with daffodils or something?
Well, why not? I mean, if it improves the image of the lads.
Well, while some people may call for more sweetness and light from the Portsmouth team, the management is unrepentant, and Alan Ball will tell you why.
When you're the best side in the league, and I've been for ages, people don't realise when you go up north, and I'm a northern lad, they take the milk out your teeth, they can. And when I take my team up there, we are the best side, and they think we're soft southerners, and I've got a bunch of lads here, and I said to them, look, when you come up north, you've got to scrap and fight for everything you get. And we've done it for 3 years. And when they do that, they appreciate that, but you get into a bit of bother now and again.
There's no doubt that it's total commitment that has won them promotion. By the turn of the year, they were top of the table.
Just jogging, trying to get a bit of support. Quinn gets the cross in. The chance there, and it's
That goal from Mariner kept them in front. But in the previous 2 seasons, they'd looked certain to go up, only to fail at the last moment. And by this April, they'd dropped to 2nd place, and the nerves were beginning to show. The key contest was against Oldham, the closest of the chasing pack.
The penalty area cross comes in, and Quinn gets it in at the 2nd attempt. Oldham defence went to sleep there.
That was a vital victory, but a fortnight later, they slipped ominously at West Brom. Then, at home to Millwall, they got the goals that finally made them safe.
O'Callaghan's going to take it. Shoots, and it's in the net. O'Callaghan has scored.
Pompey, once the greatest club in the land, were on the way back to the big time. 7,000 turned out in the Guildhall Square to pay tribute.
I'm now introducing the greatest bunch of lads I've been with for a long, long, long time. Alan Knight!
Alan Knight, the only player to rise with them all the way from the 4th to the 1st Division. The goalkeeper of the team with the best defensive record in the Football League. And the leading scorer, Mike Quinn, 28 goals this season in spite of all the problems. Now basking in all the congratulations along with the rest of the team. Along the coast, in the centre of Bournemouth, a warm reception too for the Cherries' Paul Morrell.
How are you doing? Nice to see you. Great. Oh, fantastic. Congratulations.
Morrell is one of the most improved players in the side, and he's the local hero, the only one who was brought up here in the town.
Do you get a lot of recognition as you walk along?
Oh, obviously you get a certain amount of people that recognise you and sort of shout out different comments, you know, you get it all the time.
Do you feel proud about it all? Proud about yourself and proud about Bournemouth?
Oh, obviously I'm proud that I'm playing for my local side and, you know, I've got promotion with them. You know, proud for my family and everyone involved with us.
On Monday, the fans turned out once more to see the team collect the championship trophy before a friendly match against Norwich. In contrast to Portsmouth, Bournemouth had come through with a fine disciplinary record.
That's Harry. I mean, before he signs a player, it does appear to take a long time to make up his mind, but obviously what he's doing is checking on the background of the player. Not only his ability and making sure on that side what he can do on the field, but his character off the field. And people don't expect trouble in Bournemouth. And so, consequently, we have no trouble with our players, and we have very little trouble with our fans.
All those balloons at the last match of the season seemed to symbolise the good humour. It was always said there was a gypsy curse on Dean Court that would stifle success. Well, the hoodoo's been well and truly broken. although it has to be said there are still plenty of other superstitions in the club.
Same old nonsense as everybody, you know. I've had the same gear on, I mean, every game, and got some nice match gear that was given to us by a local menswear shop, and they gave us lovely blazers and flannels, but unfortunately my flannels did come up 2 sizes too big, and they, you know, I think Charlie Caroli could wear them, you know, but I've just stuck with them.
Well, Harry won't have to wear his baggy trousers for a while. After all the hard work, time for a break. With soccer taking second place to snooker. For Alan Ball, it's also time to relax. In fact, he started the very morning Portsmouth was celebrating promotion. With the youth team coach and former England player Peter Osgood, he was studying form in his other great passion, horse racing. Alan fancied Corvallis in the 4:30 at Salisbury. Hopefully there wasn't too much money riding on it. The ball tip finished 5th.
Well, all I can say is I'm glad he's a better judge of a footballer than he is a racehorse, you know. He's the worst tipster in the world, really, the boss.
Alan Ball had no interest in the last race. Mike Channon had, though. He breeds horses now, but a year ago he was playing for Pompey, and he's over the moon at his old friend's success.
It's great to see they got up. I'm delighted for Ball. I'm delighted for the lads, you know. I mean, some real rascals down there, but it's great to see them up. They're back where they probably belong. Let's hope they go on from here.
Well, football, just like racing, is an uncertain game. But Peter Osgood has no doubts that his boss will go on from here.
His Christian name should be Foot, not Alan, because he is football fanatic and he's unbelievable, and he deserves everything he gets. And there's a lot of people out there at the moment, you know, sort of been shooting him down in flames. I would just like to say to them, he's back, we're with him, look out.
Bournemouth needed a little cheering up.
Everybody who's ever worked at this club has always wanted to be the first manager to take Bournemouth into the second division, I think.
First division the year after.
The first division the year after would be nice.
Bournemouth 3, Spurs 1.
A penalty for Portsmouth. Peter Harris to take it. Cheers.
Let's hope people go to work with a smile on their face.
And following the success of Portsmouth